Kalasan silanganan, hanap ng puso, sa dibdib mo'y buhay. Lupang hinirang, duyan ka ng magiting, sa manlulupi, di ka pasisiil. Sa dagat at bundok, sa simoy at sa langit mong bukhaw, may dalagang tula at awit sa paglayang minamahal. Ang kislap ng watawat mo'y tagumpay na nagniningning, ang bituin at araw niya kailan pa may di magdidinig. Lupa ng araw ng walhating ng sinta, buhay langit sa piling ko. Aming ligaya na pag may mga atin na pumatay ng dahil sa'yo.
Mahigit sa 20,000 na ang confirmed
ng PPE
Isa sa ilalim na ang Metro Manila sa...
Wala na. Wala munang mga food court at fiesta. Meron namang lutong bahay. Wala munang window shopping. Meron namang free shipping. Wala munang happy hour. Pero may isang oras pa. Tulog pa tayo. Wala muna yung aircon at only coffee sa office. Pero andyan yung dream office mate natin. Biruin mo, wala munang quiz night, band night, samgyup night, pati videoke night. Pero meron ng time sa family night. Wala na munang pasyalan, wala na munang bakasyunan. Okay lang siguro mawala lahat ng yon. Huwag lang ito. Kasi may mga bagay na walang kapalit. May mas mahalaga ba dito? Wala. Rediscover what matters. Rediscover home.
Honorable Ramon Jacinto, DICT Undersecretary, Mr. Ray Alimolong, Lazada Philippines CEO, Mr. Louis Casaneda, Fortinet Philippines Country Manager, my co-host Ben Kritz and other colleagues of the Manila Times. Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon and welcome. The disruption spawned by the coronavirus pandemic can be felt in just about every aspect of daily life. People are working from home, many of them indefinitely. Schools are scrambling to try out new modalities of learning to allow learners to take classes from home, even as they struggle with slow internet connectivity. And these are just some examples. The new normal is already reality, even for the Manila Times, which had been organizing various business fora that now have been pushed out from hotel rooms into the virtual world, just like this one today. Indeed, the health crisis has turned the proverbial national spotlight on the country's deficiencies in our telecommunications and information technology industries. And in fairness to the private sector, it seems that the telcos are doing their best to improve, especially now that President Duterte had called them out in his recent State of the Nation address. But even before that, I suspect they have already been feeling market pressure to deliver better services. On a more positive note, many have said that the pandemic is accelerating the digitization of our economy, along with others in the world. By simple observation, it seems that more people are doing more commerce online. Many households have even shifted to virtual stores that are complemented by delivery services to do much of their routine, such as going to the market for food and supplies. These changes remind us that disruption is not without positive outcomes. Perhaps like you, we hope that all the changes will bring about a net positive gain when the time and situation allow for a full accounting of the pandemic's total impact. Of course, it would be better to hear some assessment now rather than later. And that is why we have organized this forum to hear from the people in the know, not only to hear from people in the know the present lay of the land. We hope to hear from them the latest updates on the work to improve our communication and information technology and infrastructure, as well as to discover opportunities in the so-called new normal. So I will conclude now to give way to those experts. Before I do, allow me to acknowledge those who have made this forum possible today. Thank you to our co-presenters Fortinet, Infinivan, and PLDT Smart. We also wish to express our appreciation to our partners SunTrust, PIAA, and our media partner, the Manila Times TV. Thank you to all of those watching this forum today on our website, www.manilatimes.net, the Manila Times Facebook page, the Manila Times channels on Dailymotion and YouTube, and on our paper's other social media platforms. Those viewing this later may be happy to know that the stories about the speakers' presentations will be reported in our print edition of the Manila Times and in its digital edition, which is an exact replica of the whole paper that you can access on your mobile phones, desktops, and gadgets. Once again, and now let's get started with our keynote speaker. RJ Jacinto, Undersecretary of DICT, is largely known for his musical acumen, both as artist and entrepreneur. The Department of Information and Communication Technology Undersecretary for Operation Ramon RJ Jacinto first worked for the government during the term of President Fidel Ramos as Vice Chairman of the Presidential Committee on Flagship Programs and Projects for 3 years. Before he was appointed by President Rodrigo Duterte for his current position on May 26, he first served as Presidential Advisor on the Economic Affairs and Information Technology Communications since July 14, 2016. He earned his Bachelor's of Science, major in Economics degree from the Ateneo de Manila University, graduating with honors, then took up law at the University of Santo Tomas. He established the rock and roll radio station DZRJ and the Raja Broadcasting Network, worked at his family's Iligan Integrated Steel Mills, put up UHF TV and home TV shopping, and pioneered in non-collateral consumer finance and American-style bargain stores like Price Club, which is now occupied by SNR Shopping. His RJ Sunday Jam is touted as the model for Teleradio, where the program is simulcast on radio and television. Yusek Jacinto has also established iconic businesses like Bistro RJ, RJ Guitars, RJ Academy of Music, almost simultaneously while holding corporate posts as President and CEO of Philcomsat Holdings Corporation and Chairman of the Board of Directors of the Philippine Communications Satellite Corporation and Director and Chairman of the Philippine Overseas Telecommunications Corporation. His expertise in banking and finance have been proven when he founded and headed the 18-branch Ventures Bank now owned by the AMA Group of Companies as AMA Bank, and as Vice President of Security Bank and Trust Company. Also a member of the World Presidents Organization, a global leadership organization of more than 8,000 business leaders who are graduates of Young Presidents Organizations founded in 1950 in Texas, USA. Yusek Jacinto's awards include the Presidential Citation for Exemplary Service as Presidential Advisor in 1998, Outstanding Entrepreneur and Citation for Contributions to the Philippine Music Industry, given by the California State Legislature in 2003, Lifetime Achievement Award from the Aleo Awards Foundation in 2004, and Lifetime Achievement Award at KBP's 26 Golden Dove Awards in 2018. Ladies and gentlemen, Yusek R.J. Jacinto. Welcome, Yusek.
Thank you very much. Wow, what an introduction. Thank you. And thank you for inviting me. Shall I start?
Sir. Yes, sir. Please.
Okay. I guess, especially now, it's so important to have connectivity. We have realized that a long time ago, but now it's reality. The importance of improving connectivity is so pervasive. For a 10% increase in broadband penetration, results in a 1.38 increase average in GDP, a 10% increase in coverage. And results for every 0.5 Mbps broadband connection in the home, it increases the household income by $800 per year in less developed countries. Internet improves access to education and information, equalizes opportunities, and as an example, the good performance of provincial law schools in bar examinations in the last 2 or 3 years is at least partly attributable to better access to case and review materials over the internet. So I'm not going to delve too much in that anymore. Everybody knows the importance. Now, what is our standing in internet penetration? Okay, 45% of Filipinos do not have access to internet. 61% of households. And 74% of all public schools, elementary to high school, are not connected to the internet. The quality is poor. Fixed broadband in the Philippines is one of the slowest. I guess there are many studies on the rating of the Philippines. It depends on what study you look at, but we are one of the slowest and one of the most expensive. So what do we do? And why are we like this? I was tasked by the president 3 years ago to craft a common tower policy. You see, the problem is our cell sites are clogged. Whereas in other countries, you have 1,200 to 1,500 users or customers per cell site. Here we have more than 4,000. So that creates traffic, dropped calls, and all kinds of things, all kinds of problems. So the solution is to increase the sites, not only the towers, the sites of the towers, because we now have only probably 20,000 towers, but most are duplications. So we only have about 10,000 sites. We have a population of 110 million people, more or less, 107, 110. We need 50,000 sites. So therefore, we still lack 40,000, 30 to 40,000. Until we can build more sites, there's going to be more traffic in the present tower sites we have. So I crafted, or my office as presidential advisor, crafted guidelines for a common tower policy. It's a win-win situation. The mobile telcos are complaining. We cannot build towers properly because of all the permits required. And it's true to a certain extent. But that cannot be the reason why we are in this state. That's not the only reason. The other reason is they're in business. Why should they build in places where they cannot make money. Okay? So let's help them. Let's help the mobile telcos. Let's take the problem away from them and follow the success of other countries in having a common tower sharing, independent common tower sharing policy. Now, of course, they'll say, why do you force us to share? That's a common reaction. Well, you know, they're already so well entrenched, and so they already have 100% of the market between Globe and Smart. What we want them to do is to have service in mind, not just profit. Okay? They're already kings of the road. What is it? What do they lose? By serving the public more. It will even increase their lot. So we proposed a win-win situation. Let the experienced, independent, international common tower companies build the towers for you, since you say that's your problem. So the government takes away your problem from you, and you save 40% of your capex, so you can concentrate on improving your radios. But it was met when we had the public forum. That was 2018, I think, with former Acting Secretary Rio there. Globe objected. They said, we are the ones who are supposed to build the towers because we have the experience. And if we cannot do it, nobody else can do it. That's on record. So I said, but it's you that we're trying to help. We will not be here trying to help you if you had delivered to the public. So, but the news came out different. The news came out, there's so many objections to the common tower. It was a PR game, okay? And people cannot really understand it. It's very hard to understand the common tower. It's really, really simple. If you share towers, all you have to do is pay rent. You don't have to pay for the building and the maintenance. So if there are only 2 customers now, the 3rd customer is coming. Okay, so these experienced tower companies must invest $3 to $5 billion, and they must not only build, they must maintain it. So you cannot just have any Tom, Dick, and Harry build towers. Just because you're a contractor, you can build towers. Telco towers, yes, maybe you can build the structure, but you cannot maintain it. It's a specialized thing. So we have to entice these investors to come to the country, and we have to make it viable for them. But it was met with opposition. Why should you limit the number of towers and everything? Now, I want to address that. You cannot have everybody build towers. Not everybody is fit to build towers. In the same way that not everybody can build an airport or a subway or a national grid. There are certain projects that you leave only to experts who are well financed. And we cannot afford. We're already late 10 years, our country. So I said, let's follow the experience of other countries. In America, there are 6 operators. There are only 3 tower companies. It's a good soundbite to say, let everybody build. Why limit it? No, you have to make that guy who's going to build commit. You roll out so many thousands of towers every year, or you're going to get it from us. Can you do that if everybody's building? If a mayor in a town is building a tower? A barangay official is building a tower? No. You see, people misunderstand it. They think, the way it is now is Smart or Globe will get a contractor, build me a tower, and then I'll pay you after. They think a tower company should be the same. No. The tower company will pay for the tower, maintain it, and be independent of undue influence by any mobile operator, and will be fair and transparent, and will do a professional job in seeing to it that they complete the building and maintain it properly. Now, in other countries, they tried that, a free-for-all. Everything, like India. India tried. So many were building towers. In the end, India only has, I think, 6. And they have 1.2 billion people, 6 independent tower companies. So it got lost in the translation, the essence of the common tower. Now, we saved, it's a win-win, but the mobile companies will only realize it after. Right now, they don't want to lose that say or that the dominance of building only where they want to build, but it's really for their own good. Anyway, that takes care of the common tower policy. The way it is now is the investors, after the DICT released some interim guidelines, the investors wrote, the big investors, the real ones, they wrote and said, we have reservations of coming in based on the present guidelines. So we are working on that. We're working on improving the guidelines, and I will take it up with Secretary Honasan. Now, let's go to the connectivity. Facebook, you've heard of that. The Facebook fiber optic. Huh? Okay. Now, it was delayed for 1 year after the president assumed office. Finally, we got it signed. I was an advisor at that time. I was in the cabinet. But now, it's about to be turned over. So finally, we have this Facebook fiber optic that has landed. Now, the landing station is controlled now by BCDA, and it will be turned over to the ICT. So that has a slight delay, but it will be turned over soon. Now, what's the importance of this? The importance is we can source internet cheaper. Where do we source it now? We source it from Globe and Smart. Globe and Smart control about 8 landing stations. This is the first station that will be controlled by the government. Now, it has a capacity, the cable has a capacity of 2 terabytes. That's very big. Of course, the Clark development will have some priority because they financed that. You see, the Philippines is lucky because we are our location is such that they want now to land the cables, and then it transverses Luzon and goes back to complete the loop, to Los Angeles. Because before it would be in the ocean and it would be rocky and it would be, during earthquakes, it would break. It's like Ireland. Ireland is a home for some fiber optic cables. But anyway, we're lucky that we can get this free for 25 years, 2 terabytes. Now, of course, that's only the capacity. We have to buy internet from Los Angeles, maybe from the States. That's about 90 cents. 90 cents per megabit. The price to the consumer now of internet, I think is about, I have to check this, it's about $15, I think, when you source, $15 per megabit. Now, we can, when this is working, you still have to, when the fiber optic of Facebook is working, you still have to connect it to the government offices, to the end consumer, public schools and all that. So you need a national broadband. That's why there's a national broadband plan. Now, from the cable, the national broadband will connect it in the middle mile and the last mile. And it will also connect to the to the NGCP, which has fiber already. So that will jumpstart it. Now, and then it has to be connected via undersea cable to the Visayas, and Mindanao. Now, what's the status of that? We're already delayed there. Some middle mile is finished, but not the last mile. In some cases, the last mile is finished and not the middle mile. So I think the best thing to do for this, and I will discuss it with the Secretary Hunasan, is to just have somebody say, okay, I will build it for you and connect everything so that we will study. So it's not only the source of the internet, the price, but also how to connect it to the public schools, to the public, to the consumer. Now, if we can sell internet, then now these are the advantages and the implications. If we can sell internet for $1.50 to anybody from that fiber optic cable that's crossing Luzon, and let somebody take it to the consumer or to the government offices, with the condition that they will only sell it at a certain price, a certain markup, we may be able to bring down the cost of the internet very soon. But then we have to take into consideration the cost of maintaining that and everything. So I don't know what kind of markup. We're still studying. I am studying it now. Okay. So if we give you internet at $1.50, just sell it for $5 to the consumer. Right now, I think it's 15. So that will be very, very, very groundbreaking. But first, we have to connect it. So anyway, I might be taking up too much time here.
That's okay, Yusek. Go ahead.
Okay. So right now, let's talk about the free Wi-Fi. Okay. The free Wi-Fi was supposed to, it will connect public schools, government offices, learning institutions, state universities, TESDA technology institutions, public hospitals, health centers, rural health units, public parks, plazas, libraries, barangay reading centers. And it provides 1 hour per day of free internet use to the user, okay? As of June 21, the free Wi-Fi program has 4,194 sites nationwide. This was also delayed because not only with this administration, even this started in the previous administration. And it was bidded out to so many. That's why I feel it's not good to bid it out to so many people. Just have somebody say, or a few people or whatever who are capable, say, I'm going to build this at this time. If not, then I get penalized, you know. But anyway, 10,000 sites are expected this year, by the end of the year. And then by 2023, 104,000 hotspots. So this is good because it will reach out to the people. They have free internet 1 hour a day. But then I'm going to present a problem to you. You have internet, who's going to receive it? Because 40% of the Filipinos don't have smartphones. You have a highway, you have a car, you have no driver. So, the government must help, or I don't know, businesses, we must help the people get these smartphones. Now, if you can spend 50 pesos on a cigarette on smoking cigarettes, about 100 pesos a month. Maybe you can buy a tablet or a smartphone. Maybe we bring in 10 million smartphones and sell it through the barangays. Because if you give it to them, they might just sell it to other people. Let them own it. Let them have that equity to own this smartphone that they have. And they can give 100 pesos a month. Installment payment. In about 1 year, they would have paid for that phone. And it will free them. It will give them access to the internet. So then we need a satellite overlay over this national broadband. It's not only fiber, we need an overlay of satellite. That's why we should not lose our satellite slot. We already have lost, we had 3 satellite slots, we lost 2. We should protect the last one. Of course, permitting process. It's not easy to do business, we know that. So we should also help the telcos. We should also listen to them and ask them how we can help them. So this has to be an effort of the whole nation. But they have to recognize that they have failed to deliver. And they don't recognize that. They have to recognize that they have failed to deliver, and that everybody must help each other. And that service should be in the equation, not just dominance. Now, the third telco is coming. I asked Smart and Globe through the NTC, what is your rollout plan for towers? 2018. The plan was to put up 617 towers. Both combined, combined, okay? At that rate, it will take us 80 years to put up 50,000 towers. So, we must mandate them a certain rollout pace. If they don't have the capex, that's why we have these common tower companies. So we should put them all in one room, whoever will build the towers, and let's agree with a map here in front of us, a topographical map with RF frequency studies, okay? This is where we want to build towers. This is where the 50,000 towers should go. Now, you adjust the locations if you want to what you want, okay? But let's all agree that this is where we're going to build it, and this is the time span we're going to build it, and let's do it. But the NTC is not mandating them to build a certain number of towers every year. So they just build in accordance with their own schedule. Now, it's NTC's job to regulate this. And we should really have a plan. At least every 3 years, we should have a rollout firmed up, and that's going to be followed. And we stick to the schedule, so that we have 50,000 towers in about 5 years. I cannot hear you. Okay, now I will wrap up now. Okay. The third telco was able to build 300 towers in a matter of months. They may be able to build 1,000 towers in the first year that they started building. Globe and Smart in 2018 said they would build combined 600 towers, 617 towers. Now, why is the third telco not complaining so much about the permitting process? Why? Because they're really concentrating on building. They have to catch up. Now, why can they do it alone 300 towers in a few months? Because they have a performance bond. They have to perform. So maybe the rollout schedules should also be covered by performance bonds. Now, I'm just talking as a practical businessman because I've been an entrepreneur all my life. I think the telcos, especially Smart, you know, whatever Manny Pangilinan has done, he has done well. I think it's just a matter of realigning their priorities, really. And a heart-to-heart talk. It's been 4 years since the president announced that he wanted to improve the service. Maybe a heart-to-heart talk with them and helping each other. And just like, for example, in building, Smart will go there and say, this is my building. Globe will go to the next building, that's my building. Condominium, that's my building. Smart cannot go in there. So we should put an end to exclusivity in building access, in subdivisions. Let the people choose what service they want, like in other countries. So it's a whole mindset. It's a whole mindset of service, not just profit. And with that, I end my talk. Thank you.
Thank you, Undersecretary Jacinto. That's very enlightening. Ben Kritz, would you like to ask the first question?
Yes. Good afternoon, Mr. Undersecretary. I found your extensive discussion on the tower problem quite interesting, and I think a lot of the public will too, because I think people understand that that's one of the big hangups to why they do not have better internet. I have a couple of questions related to that, and I want to start with the last point that you made first, because I'm a little bit curious about it. You said that the third telco is rapidly catching up, which is understandable. I mean, they're up against the established players. And you attribute that ability to catch up to their performance bond, that they have to meet a certain expectations or they lose it. However, aren't they still facing the same kind of permitting hassles and things like that at the local level that the other two telcos have been complaining about for years? So what's their secret? I mean, how are they really getting past that? Because that has been what we've been told for years, is that, oh, well, we can build towers, but it takes so long to deal with the LGUs and property owners, and they seem to somehow have gotten over that. But I know just the existence of a performance bond doesn't solve that problem. So what has changed?
Okay. I think, frankly, that excuse is overused.
Okay,
that's number one. Secondly, we must help them. We must make it faster. Now, how do you do that? I think the LGUs will cooperate with moral suasion from the president. Okay? Now, I will propose a one-stop shop under the office of Secretary Año of DILG, to assist in processing the permits, because the local government units are under Secretary Año's DILG. And I think if the whole nation is decided to do that, they will cooperate. So even with these present restraints, the third telco was able to build 300 towers in a few months. So that excuse is overused.
Okay. Now the next question that I had, that you brought up, you seem to, although you you did it kind of politely, but you seem to offer some criticism of the NTC that they are not really doing their job of regulating this this whole tower building exercise. What can be done to improve the NTC's reach and sense of responsibility? What would you like to see happen with that agency?
I think we all have to do better. The NTC and the DICT too. I guess we just have to improve it. And with the president's priority now, I think they will.
Okay.
You said, can I interject a little bit? You mentioned the need for a national broadband infrastructure, and I remember during the time of Mrs. Arroyo, this was the plan, but that was scrapped in light of other political events. Has that been revived, replaced, updated?
Well,
Is there a new broadband plan, or is that too hot of a political issue to handle even now?
No. This is a completely different thing. In a sense, it's the same, but the branding of broadband has become anathema.
Essential, yeah.
Yeah, it should be really broad. It can't even be. It can even be branded as national connectivity. It can.
All right.
The point is, we have to connect the whole country with fiber and a satellite overlay.
Right.
See, that's the only thing there.
Right.
Now, it's good that the NGCP is willing to make available, this electrical grid of NGCP is connected all over,
Right. Well,
And-
my frustration
There's
is
fiber.
I'm not an expert with the old broadband plan. But my understanding was that it was going to provide a lot of service even to LGUs, connect even remote areas of the Philippines. But it was only the political issue that was problematic. And yeah, you're right. Maybe it's better to maybe to rebrand it. I don't know. But essentially, we've needed it even back then. And I don't know if the political discourse had
Right, yeah.
had blocked the way, or stood in the way of pursuing something like that. Something so essential.
Maybe we should rebrand it wideband.
Okay.
National wideband.
Right. Sir, could you elaborate a little bit on these tower builders that you said that were willing to put up the capital to build these towers? I mean, can you tell us about which companies are interested, and how far along are the negotiations now? As you said, there was some pushback from Globe and probably from the other telco, but where are we now again?
Yeah, well, about 4 or 5 tower companies, big tower companies wrote. These are experienced guys, huh? We're
Right.
maintaining 30,000 towers in other countries.
Wow.
And just to show you, if I may continue, some countries started, everybody could build, but in the end, only a few people were really reliable. Like now, Myanmar has learned that. At the outset, Myanmar, a few years ago, already said, we are going to appoint certain common tower companies only, because we learned from the experience of the other countries.
Wow.
Now, some of the companies are Frontier Towers, ISON, American Tower, which is the largest, IHS, it's a South African firm, and Sojitz from Japan. These are the guys who wrote. They're still interested, but you have to create an atmosphere, especially now after the pandemic. You have to create an atmosphere that they can be viable. Mm-hmm. Because you actually, Clink, you only have 2 customers or 3.
Right.
If you have too many players, who's going to be their customer?
Right. Right.
Actually, you should only have 2, really.
Right.
But we are willing to, 5, because they say, it's anti-competitive. Okay, 5. That's even more than what's needed.
Right.
America has 3. China has 1, of course.
Okay.
Vietnam, Vietnam, I think only has 2.
Okay.
Because you cannot have 100 people building the subway piece by piece,
Right.
or the airport.
Right.
That's what they have to understand.
Right.
That it's a specialized job. You have to have power backup, fiber. You have to maintain it well, and it's also a national security concern.
Right.
You have to guard the tower well. How can you guard the tower when everybody's managing their own tower?
Right. I was going to ask that national security concern, because as you know, from the news, we hear all these issues emanating from the U.S.-China trade war, and that the U.S. has put pressure on some of its partners to preclude from participating in the telco infrastructure building, Huawei, and I suppose other Chinese companies. But I was wondering if there were similar constraints in the Philippines in that regard.
I think it's more on protecting national security by way of against terrorism and all these unsettled elements.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So it's a very, very sensitive thing to maintain. It has to be maintained by experts.
Right.
Like a national data center has to be maintained by experts. You can't let everybody have their own data.
Right. You have to have some qualification.
Yeah. There are some natural monopolies or oligopolies. For example, Meralco.
Right. Natural monopoly.
As long as it benefits the public,
right,
monopolies and oligopolies are okay.
Right.
If it's for the public benefit. But they did the PR twist.
Right.
It proposes common towers. Oh, RJ only wants 2, or it's anti-competitive and everything. So that's fine.
But that's completely opposite of what you're saying.
Yeah. Yeah. So, it's not, you don't hire a contractor, pay him, sige, umuwi ka na, you build the tower, kami nang bahala dito.
Right.
Now, if you let everybody build, we're in the same situation as we are now. Anybody can build. Oh, where are we after 2 decades?
Right. So
you have to change the paradigm.
Could you educate us a little bit, because what you say makes sense to me as as a businessman, but not familiar with the industry. But what you're sharing about, there are companies interested to build these infrastructures, and in fact, this would save the telcos millions of pesos in capital expenditures. Yeah. I don't understand. Is it just a reluctance of losing control somehow, or is it more of keeping competitors out? Or is it something else altogether?
I think it's just a matter of time that they will realize it's for their own good, because it's not. I don't think. You see, they're so used to doing that already. So why give it up?
Okay.
It's just a matter of they have to adjust to the new normal.
Right.
Because can they deliver now? Where are we now? So we must do something about it. When there's a failure in delivery of public service, the government must intervene.
Right.
I'm just wondering, have you considered at all taking tower construction out of their hands? I know that is a piece of their franchise, and which is kind of a dumb way that it was written in the first place. But tell them, look, if you can't provide the towers, you just won't, be permitted to provide any towers, and we'll get a third provider. Have you considered that?
Well, I have a formula for that. The formula is, they should not build towers unless it's they cannot locate their radios anywhere except in common towers built by independent tower companies. Okay, now we're not going to stop them from building if the independent, but they give first option to the international or whatever, to the tower company.
Okay.
Now, if in 15 days they cannot answer if they can build or not in a certain location, with one demand with one demand, the tower company must build. In other countries, it's with two demands because it's only viable if it's two. But the tower companies are willing, as expressed in the guidelines that I prepared. These tower companies are willing. With one demand, they'll build. Now, if they cannot answer within 15 days or 30 days, then Globe and Smart or Dito can build their own. So what do they lose?
Okay.
That's the formula. First option, not stop them. First option to the tower companies. We're not going to forbid their building. And by the way, a franchise is a grant by the government. The franchise, Congress delegated to NTC their power to regulate. So they cannot say it's a violation of their franchise.
Sir, could you expound a little bit on those satellite slots you mentioned? You said that there are 3 allocated to the Philippines, but we're only maintaining 1 now. You said we have lost 2 satellite slots.
We don't even have a satellite now.
Oh, okay.
But so we might lose that slot. So the other 2 slots, because we had not floated our own satellite, were already taken by some other countries. But we can always hire other satellites and everything. But it's very important. You have your national airline. Let's have a national satellite.
Right. What's the progress on that? Is there any interest in the private sector to work with government, or is there an initiative from the government?
There is. Yeah, we just haven't focused on it because just with these things now, like education, we're preoccupied with some other priorities, right? But that should have been addressed even in the previous administrations. Right.
Well, I was going to ask you, how is DICT doing now? I mean, with all this health crisis. I mean, I know from our office, a lot of people are working from home, and it's certainly much more difficult to do regular things now because the people are working from different places. How much has the pandemic affected your operations there? What's the atmosphere like?
Well, we have a skeletal force, but lately some have tested positive. So right now, for about a week now, there's nobody there. But they're doing their best. They're doing their best within also the restricted budgets that they have. Yeah, they're doing their best. But I think we have to do better too.
Right. Sir, for all of those things that you said need to be done, I mean, I'm not sure. Maybe if you can educate us? Are these projects that you mentioned that are vital for our ICT infrastructure? Are they part of the Build, or is there an effort to maybe add them to the Build program in 2021? I mean, where are these things in the radar screen of the president and of Congress?
Well, lately the president has made it a priority.
Okay.
He mentioned it in the SONA.
Right, that's a necessity.
Because I think connectivity is now a human right. It's like food now. And it will really it will equalize opportunities for people. The knowledge is power. Knowledge is power. Even if you're very poor, if you have knowledge, you will not be mediocre. And to deliver that knowledge, you need the internet.
Right.
I was also curious about one other thing related to towers, and I don't want to sound like a broken record, but you mentioned an interesting plan where you get everybody in a room and say, okay, this is where we want to build towers. Now, who can do it? Has any sort of study been done along those lines? I mean, has anybody taken a map of the Philippines and figured out where to put 50,000 towers, hypothetically, before, just this would be the best coverage for the country. Now let's go find somebody that can fill it in. Have you done that yet? Is there any plans to do exactly that? Because that actually sounded like something that made a lot of sense.
We have not done that yet, but we can do it. We can hire somebody to do it. It's not that difficult.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to do that.
Yeah,
That's the only thing that makes sense to me.
Sure.
I mean, you can promise to get better. You can promise to get better, but how?
Mm-hmm.
Will you please deliver me something? Will you please commit to something?
Yusek, we're running out of time, but I wanted to squeeze in this question from one of our viewers, from JJ Moreno. The viewer said, very insightful, direct, and encouraging talk, Yusek Jacinto. Thanks. For my question, may I ask if there is a particular country that you are modeling your national digital strategy on? And if so, what is that country?
Well, national digital strategy is what they're asking?
Yes, sir. If you have a model country that you're looking at.
Well, if we could only do an Estonia where where you can vote online. I mean, everything is online. You can get permits online, and you can get clearances, government clearances online. That's what we'd like to do. But right now, we just have to make do with what we have, with the limited means we have. So there should come a day when we'll have a common paper. Mm-hmm. I think India has it. Mm-hmm. You have a common tower, you have a common paper. That paper contains everything.
Right.
And it can be embedded in the paper. So you don't have to get a plastic driver's license here.
Right.
This and that. Just one paper contains your NBI clearance, your voter certificate, everything. So that's less cost.
Right. Yeah. Well, I hope to see something like that soon, sir. And
no, it's possible.
I know. As you said, it's being done in some other countries.
Yeah.
I'm surprised about your example, Estonia, but it's fascinating how it can be done in other countries and why it cannot be done here. Well, sir, thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate it, and rest assured, sir, that we will support you if there's anything Manila Times can do to help you get the word out.
Yeah.
Please, we're here to help you out. Maybe a final message from you, Yusek Jacinto.
Yeah, I've been very transparent because I believe we can only get things done if we're frank with each other. So I appreciate your help because there's so much going on, misinformation about Common Tower, about people don't read. It's the difficulty with this subject matter. It's hard to understand. Yes. Megabits per second, Common Tower, switches, But so please, you can help us by getting the information out.
Thank you, sir. I mean, I think I speak for Ben. We are both educated on this topic, but we look forward to talking to you again, Mr. Secretary.
Thank you very much, Clint.
Thank you,
Thanks,
sir.
Ben.
Thank you. With that, Ben, would you care to introduce our next speaker?
I would be happy to. Our next guest is Louis Castaneda, who is the country manager for Fortinet Philippines. He's the country head of the company, which is based in California, and the Philippines is part of the Southeast Asia and Hong Kong region for Fortinet. Hang on a second there. There we go. Castaneda's had 3 decades of experience in information and communication technology. Prior to taking the helm of Fortinet's business operations in the Philippines, he was country manager of Cisco Philippines, which I'm sure most people recognize as another big name in IT. He's also tackled senior sales and channel management roles in global technology companies such as Microsoft, IBM, Oracle, and Fujitsu. He's a licensed electronics engineer and has worked in systems and network engineering, ICT planning and design, pre-sales, and technical consulting since beginning his career after he earned a Bachelor of Science in Electronics and Communication Engineering from the Don Bosco Technical College in Mandaluyong and a Master of Business Administration from De La Salle. He also does a bit of writing about technological developments for business applications in particular, which of course is relevant to Fortinet's business, and you can find him on several online platforms. Would you please welcome Mr. Louis Castaneda?
Hey, thank you there, Ben, and thank you as well, Mr. Ang. Actually, USEC RJ is a hard act to follow, you know. The topic he discussed is really, you know, really insightful, and it's impacting all of us. So let me turn you over to my presentation. So I'll share my screen. Give me a second. I'll share my screen. Are you able to see it now?
Yes, yes, sir. We can see the PowerPoint.
All right. Okay. I'll turn it over to a presentation mode. So, all right. So, okay, my topic will be about transforming security with business digital transformation. You know, security really now is a very important topic. People are talking about it because, you know, there's really a lot of things going. And because of the move to teleworking environment brought about by the pandemic, security has really become very, very important when it comes to priorities companies need to take a look at. So first, digital transformation. You know, companies will need to consider several key factors when they are looking at digital transformation. And it actually requires a lot of investment also when it comes to, you know, evolving their infrastructure. And this will need an evolution of their environment, like considering a hybrid environment like cloud, and also looking at solutions like software-defined networking. And also they would need to consider automating a lot of their operational processes and to make them more efficient. And this includes, you know, being able to respond to security breaches and network issues as quickly as you can. Now, a lot of companies would also need to consider risk management as part of the key areas that they need to consider. This includes several private and government organizations that provides the best practices that companies can take a look at. And that includes organizations like ISO, or the International Organization for Standardization, or the Center for Internet Security, or CIS. Reputation management is also key because it will protect both the internal and external from both internal and external threat. And compliance is also key for industries, and government regulation is a consideration to make sure that everything is above board. And in the end, it will protect the businesses from possible fines or breaches that can result in thousands of dollars of fines. You know, those are the things that businesses will need to consider when they are transforming their business into a digital organization.
Sorry, Sir Louis, your screen is not on full screen and your slides are not rolling. Can you just check through again?
Okay. Is it rolling now? Are you able to see?
We can see it, Mr. Castaneda. Maybe it needs to be on slideshow mode.
Oh, okay. It's actually in presentation mode. Okay. I'll do the... Is this one better?
Yes, it's working now. Thank you.
All right. Okay. Okay. So here are some of the enterprise security trends that are happening. Again, let me see. I think I need so you have a better picture of what I'm presenting. Let me try this again. Is this better?
Yes, it's working.
Okay, all right. So there are a lot of enterprise security trends that companies need to consider, and that includes some of these key trends I'm showing in the screen. Like for example, in terms of consolidation of point product into a platform approach, a lot of in the past you would see a number of point products, especially in security, that addresses very key specific areas of an organization or a company. But now you would see platform solutions, like in Fortinet, we have what we call our security fabric that integrates a lot of the security solutions into a single platform. Also, you would hear a lot about what we call IT convergence, or the OT and IT convergence. So OT stands for operational technology. And a lot of times now companies are looking at integrating both their OT network with their IT network, because this will provide businesses deeper insights in how their company work, and they're able to make decisions quickly that is coming from information from the field. And this has actually transformed a lot of organizations into a better, providing them better insight. Then you have to also look at integration, or an integrated approach. As you would see in the past, you would see a router and a firewall as separate solutions, but now you would see them being combined in a single platform, a single appliance in our case. And in our case, our next generation firewalls do have a solution called SD-WAN, or software-defined wide area network, as part of the integrated appliance. And maybe focus also on cloud. A lot of companies are considering, hey, now I need to leverage cloud, and then we could leverage the advantages of using these resources. And then they're looking at doing a hybrid environment where they're able to upload some of their key applications and resources into the cloud and connect them as well with the data center. So this is becoming more prevalent now in the industry. All right. So next, what are sample strategies in digital transformation? Let's start first with what we call the client-facing strategies. So a lot of companies now are using different marketing channels, such as social media, in promoting their products and services. Now, you would see people now using YouTube or even Facebook in marketing their products. They are also using instant messaging platforms like Viber, WhatsApp, and even Messenger in creating networks where they are able to apply their products. And then you have delivery channels such as online and mobile apps. During the pandemic, you would see the rise on utilization of a lot of these mobile applications, and also a lot of these third-party payment services such as PayMaya or even GCash. And virtual banking has become the norm nowadays. And in fact, several banks have offered what you call a system where you don't need to go to a branch to actually open an account, which is somewhat similar to what is being implemented now in the United States, using their what they call their mobile law. And then you have what you call also the emerging enterprise technologies, such as cloud services, mobile apps, bring your own devices, and mobile devices. Actually, this has been around for quite a while, but because again of the pandemic, you would see a lot more people looking at these services as a key enabler for their businesses. And then you will have your IoT, or Internet of Things, where you have building management systems, even your gaming platforms, and a lot of mobile devices being used as an extension of edge devices that companies are able to use. And also AI and machine learning has been being used intensively now in a lot of applications and a lot of platforms to enabling companies to make better decision making. Now, even with this, you have to map the strategies with associated cyber risks. Like for client-facing strategies, let me focus first maybe on email, online, and mobile apps. When you're considering this strategy as a strategy for an organization as part of your digital transformation, you have to consider the increase in attack surface. You have to look for a solution that will address that. And then you have to look at user authentication, which is really a key aspect to ensure that only the authorized users are able to access the relevant resources in your organization. And then business availability is key. You have to be up 24/7. It cannot be, you are down most of the time. And then you have to make sure that you have the proper security posture in place to prevent data loss, and also be able to address the government regulations, such as the Privacy Act or Data Privacy Act that we have in the Philippines, or GDPR if you are dealing with European customers. And then some cyber considerations with this, maybe I can name, like, for example, for privilege abuse, that's a risk where some people are using this platform as well to, to do bad things. So cyber considerations that companies can consider are usage policy, or implementing a web filtering platform to ensure that, the malicious users are not able, or malicious sites are not able to access the resources of the organization. And then you also have to consider an integrated advanced threat protection. So before, as I mentioned, people or companies are looking at point products to address their cybersecurity requirements. But now, more than ever, you need an integrated advanced threat protection to be able to have a holistic approach into addressing your cybersecurity needs. And this also allows you to be able to monitor it without having to have a lot of people doing cybersecurity. Because nowadays, it's very difficult to find cybersecurity expertise. And also a lot of companies cannot afford to have multiple people that are highly skilled in cybersecurity. But with an integrated approach, you don't need, you can have a single person monitor it using a single monitor and be able to have an integrated approach to your cybersecurity needs. You also have you also need to map strategy to for emerging enterprise technologies, like, for example, for cloud services. Again, it's an increased attack surface is a key consideration for this strategy. Visibility and control. A lot of companies, they fear that if they move to cloud, they will lose control and visibility of their data. Actually, there are solutions that allows you to still retain visibility and control. And one of them is a solution called CASBs, or Cloud Access Brokers, that allows you to monitor what's happening to your data that were uploaded to the cloud. You also have to look at agility versus security, because if you're into the cloud, you are more agile, because you could actually increase the resources that you need, or the resources that you are buying from the cloud provider. But at the same time, a lot of people are also looking at the security aspect of doing that, because inherently the clouds are secure, but connecting your data center or an edge device to the cloud, you still have to secure that. And that's where the vulnerability sometimes happen. And again, service availability. You have to ensure that the connectivity is available. And similar to what Yusek Jacinto mentioned earlier, you have to ensure that that connectivity is there and available any time of the day. And then obviously IoT will require a lot of these strategies, and you have to look at what are associated cyber risks when I start including IoT into my network. Again, as an example of what are the cyber risks for these new technologies, I have a more detailed discussion that I can do. Maybe if you have questions later, you can email me, and I can provide some more information regarding your specific requirements. But just to maybe mention, for example, cloud services. So I mentioned about visibility and control. So you need to have an integrated advanced threat protection, and you have to ensure that there's a seamless integration of migrating your applications that in your data center to the cloud, and cloud to your data center, vice versa. So the users will not feel that there's a change in the way they access the information that they've been accessing when it was in their data center. And then you have to look at increased attack surface, and then asset management and device compromise. This is key, especially in the advent of what we call now BYOD. When people started doing teleworking or remote worker as a standard because of the pandemic, a lot of companies are not able to provide a standard equipment to their employees. So they are forced to allow their employees to use their own devices or bring your own devices. But this comes with associated risks because, you know, a lot of times these devices that they're using at home are used for in accessing other non-secure sites, because a lot of times now, because also of the pandemic, the same laptops maybe are being, or tablets are being used by their kids to do virtual classroom, and also as a gaming platform. You know, that's why people need to consider this, or companies need to consider this, and they have to implement solutions like network access and control and segmentation, endpoint telemetry. You know, have to make sure that you monitor the sites that are being accessed by these devices, and you have to have a secured access infrastructure. You have to make sure that when a remote worker is connecting to their head office to access resources, the access is secure, and that can be done by employing a number of security solutions like VPN and SSL, and all those antivirus and anti-malware solutions that are readily available. Now, what are the challenges for remote working, and some of the key considerations that we must look when we are considering remote working at scale? Because now remote working has to encompass 100% of the workers. Not before, it's like 20-30% of them are working remotely. But now you have to consider 100% of your employees being able to access this remotely. So some considerations would be endpoint protection. Obviously, help desk is no longer nearby, because before, when you're working in your corporate premises, help desk is there. But now it's not. So that's one of the consideration. Another one is security posture is now being challenged, because why? When you're out of your corporate network, a lot of the things that, you know, help desk is able to do, like patching your laptops, can be done. But now, since you're in a remote, it still can be done, but not as I would say, as stringent as, you know, if you're in a corporate network. And then you have also what we call the PUAs, or possibly unwanted applications, like the adwares that, you know, keeps popping up on your laptops. And then also access control. Now it has blurred the boundary between work and life, because you're using the same devices for work and also for other things. And obviously BYOD, as I discussed earlier. And then cloud security. More and more people now are demanding that if they can access directly the cloud assets or applications from their remote site, what they wanted is a clear path towards the cloud and bypass the connectivity from their data center and then going to the cloud. And that can be done now with the latest solutions and technology coming out in the industry. So what are the prerequisites for teleworking, or an effective teleworking solution? You know, as I was talking to our customers and partners, one of the key areas that they need to ensure is usability. So again, availability of that connectivity. Also, you have to look at the devices for users. I think I mentioned that earlier. Do I standardize issue the devices per employees, or allow them to use their own devices or bring their own devices? And then you have to address the key area of user and device identity. And that can be remediated by authentication or multi-factor authentication that can be implemented. I think a lot of people are familiar with that, because now when you transact with a bank, normally, and you use your credit card, or when you buy it in third-party applications like Lazada, and you use your credit card, they normally will ask for a key that you enter through a multi-factor authentication application from the banks. And then, obviously, it has to be easy to manage and easy to support remotely. That is very key, because now your help desk or your support team, they're also doing it from their respective houses or outside the network, or the corporate network. So you have to be able to manage and support these resources on a remote site. Then what are the elements of the teleworker solution? Again, I mentioned earlier, generally now we are considering 100% of the employees are roaming, but not all of them need to have the same level of access. So in Fortinet, we classify them under 3 areas. One is the general roaming. So 90% of the employees, so they need to have access from their houses or from the cafes where there's an internet or a secure area, and access their corporate resources. Then you will have about 10% of this employees will be the power users or the super users. The power users are normally the technicians, those that can do remote access to desktops to support them, and the network administrators. And then you have the super users, which normally are the network admins and the key executives, because executives need to access more critical applications and resources in the organizations. And you have to have a different level of access for these users. So with that, this is my last slide. So just a brief introduction of Fortinet, who we are. We consider ourselves the #1 cybersecurity company in the world. So from in terms of market valuation, we are either #1, #2 now in the world. We have market valuation of more than $20 billion. Revenue is growing at a fast clip, and we exceeded about $2 billion since 2018. And we have more than 450,000 customers worldwide. And because of that, we pride ourselves that 1 out of 3 firewalls that are being shipped worldwide comes from Fortinet. So we are 3 to 5 times shipping more of this solution than any of any other vendors in the market. And we do invest a lot in research and development. That's one of the reasons why we have a huge number of patents. We have 700 plus patents now on security, and this enables us to support our customers better from the needs that they have now in the market. That's my presentation.
Thank you very much, Mr. Castañeda. I was going that last slide answered one of the things I was going to ask you about Fortinet. But we do have one question here from a viewer. If you don't mind, I'll ask from Brillarch Amante. Should we also incorporate blockchain management to combat cyber risks? Well,
obviously, blockchain is a consideration that a lot of companies are looking at. It's not yet well adopted in a number of industries. Mostly the banks are looking at blockchain. Some retail shops, but not here in the Philippines. I would say in the more developed countries like Japan and the US, they have adopted blockchain technology and cryptocurrency, for that matter, as a form of their commerce. But obviously, if you're using blockchain, inherently they would say that's secure. But then again, the connectivity that you need to do that is also something that can be vulnerable, and you would need to be able to also cover that particular area.
All right, Ben, you have a question?
Yeah, I have one quick question because I realize we're a little short on time. But let me give you a quick hypothetical situation. Let's say I own a small business, a restaurant, perhaps does some delivery type business, and I listened to your presentation and I say, yes, I need you guys to help me set up, my cybersecurity for a typical small business of the level that we see here in the Philippines. I'm sure you've worked with a lot of them. About how long a process, could a business person expect to go through, And I know you can't give a monetary figure, but what in terms of like how many months or how many weeks until they make up for their investment in it. You get any guidelines for anybody? If I'm a business listening to this, I want to know what I'm going to be getting into if I take you guys on. You have any guidance on that?
Sure. There are 2 ways to go about it. Like one, if you want to do it on your own. So normally you could work with a with a system integrator or a security focused partner that can help you assess where you are. You have to first establish a baseline where you are. So they take a look at what areas in your business have exposure, what they need to secure. And a lot of companies are actually doing that. So there's a service called vulnerability assessment and testing. So they can actually test, like, for example, if you have an application that, an online application, so they can actually do some tests to see if there's, vulnerabilities within that particular area of your business. Now, the other one is like, you could consider what we call managed services. So a lot of companies now, telcos included, the telcos that Yusek RJ was mentioning, one of their key offerings now is what they call a managed security offering or services. So what they can do, and this can actually help companies, small businesses, those that doesn't have the expert security personnel within the organization. So these companies can provide that, and you just pay a monthly fee, depending on the level of security that you require. So two ways of doing it.
Okay.
Thanks.
And just one more quick question, because we heard all about connectivity with our first speaker, the undersecretary. Are there particular challenges for your company doing what you do here in the Philippines because of the connectivity situation in this country? Are there particular security risks that people need to look out for here as opposed to, say, another country in Southeast Asia?
Well, obviously that remains to be a challenge, because in terms of reliability of the connection, that's always a challenge. In fact, some of the challenge of doing a remote worker or teleworker setup is you have to make sure that the connectivity is there. That's one. And then the latency is acceptable, because if a remote worker is using a connection that's, that keeps on going down or unreliable or jittery, chances are they get frustrated, and they will resort to something else to just get access to that information they want from their corporate offices. So for Fortinet, one of the things that we do is we can help mitigate some of that, not completely the whole challenge of connectivity, by, we have solutions that allow better usage of the bandwidth that's available. Like I think I mentioned earlier, SD-WAN. The whole advantage of using an SD-WAN is it allows a company to leverage who has the best SLA or service level among the connection that they have. Because it can be a direct internet access, it can be an MPLS for all you know, or it can even be a DSL or a fiber. So depending on the service level that a user needed and what they wanted to prioritize in terms of the application, an SD-WAN can actually choose that automatically for you. So, those are the things that companies can consider when they're looking at a solution for security.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Casania. I know that was going to be the last question, but I just can't resist. I was wondering if you can just answer just one more, and that is it getting more challenging for companies like yours to provide security, given that some of the cyber threats we're seeing now are not from individuals, but from actual state-sponsored activities? There's reports like North Korea and others. Is that a challenge, or not, or should we be okay?
As long as you have the right security infrastructure in place, you should be okay. But again, you can never be ready, because a lot of times like for example, a lot of these hackers or state-sponsored hacktivists, as you mentioned, they actually use also AI and machine learning. So they can actually morph their attack. When they know that they're being detected, they can actually change the composition of this, and it will appear as a different, like for example, virus. So that's why a lot of companies, they do employ an integrated, which is I mentioned earlier, an integrated threat protection solution. So you have a lot more coverage in the different facets of your organization. It's just not just one firewall. So you have to have an integrated platform approach for that.
Right. I think that's another topic that we would perhaps like to reach out to you again and maybe talk to you about how we can protect consumers. But we'll do that at another time. Thank you very much, Castañeda, for your presentation, and really appreciate it.
Okay,
Thank you.
Ben, would you like to introduce our next speaker? He represents a company with whom I'm doing a lot of business with these days. I'm shopping a lot from home.
I think quite a few of us have become very familiar with this company if we didn't already know who they were, and I think most people certainly do. Mr. Ray Alamurong, and I have practiced that name a couple of times already, so I hope that I've done that correctly. He is the Chief Executive Officer of Lazada Philippines, somebody I've done quite a bit of business with the last couple of months. He's got 11 years of experience in this particular business and has done a stint at Amazon US, so he certainly has been in the big leagues, and now he's back as the CEO of what I think is probably the biggest company of its kind in the country. I'll let him tell us that. Prior to this, he was the CEO of E-commerce Philippines. He's from the Ateneo de Manila and an MBA from the Stanford Graduate School of Business. I'd like to welcome Mr. Alamurong to the program. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, Ben. Thank you. Dante, hello as well.
Hi, good afternoon, sir.
Yeah, hey, it's a pleasure to have me on this webinar. So as Ben introduced, I spent quite a bit of time in Amazon. Came back in 2011 when there was virtually no e-commerce in the Philippines. And then a year later, Lazada started. And I was with Lazada until 2013. I left, came back on the acquisition of Alibaba in 2016. And so happy to share kind of how we've been navigating through these challenges. I'm going to share my screen, okay? Just let me know if you guys can see that.
Yeah, we can see it.
All right. So talking about how Lazada has innovated, adapted amidst the challenges of COVID. I want to start by talking about the e-commerce opportunity in the region. So in Southeast Asia, the opportunity is about $153 billion in 2025. This is a Google Temasek study that has the compound annual growth rate of 10-year period to be about 39%. However, what we see at Lazada is a growth rate that's even faster than that. Okay, so this is the whole Southeast Asia. The Philippines growth rate from the study is also similar. And you can see here kind of the various pieces of the internet economy. You see how e-commerce is gonna outgrow the other three, even if online media and ride had a head start and online travel also had a head start. Of course, we know ride hailing is really challenged now with the COVID situation. From the Philippines perspective, about 71 million internet users, and 70% of those are online shoppers. What is the other 30% doing? Facebook and YouTube. But this really points to very high affinity for e-commerce among Filipinos. For Lazada, I mentioned we're seeing very healthy growth across orders, buyers, and sellers. And you saw the 39% CAGR. You can see we're seeing much higher than that. So 2x in orders this year versus last year. Buyers, same thing. And today, about 100,000 sellers are selling at least one item a month on Lazada. Once the COVID hit, we got a lockdown in March 15. Our business slowed down tremendously. You can see almost flat over here. And then we were able to bounce back. This is a 6/6 campaign that we had, bounce back sale. Okay. During this period, there was even a 2-week period where we actually shut down all operations because it was very hard to deliver. There was varying interpretations of the ECQ guidelines. And so every barangay might just stop our delivery personnel. So we decided, rather than make it very difficult for everyone, we decided to just stop operations. However, we continued operating our LazMart business. And today, July, we're seeing 2.5x sales daily versus February. Okay, so you can see that it's taken off and it hasn't slowed down since. Now, during COVID itself, the period of March, April, we saw a massive change in consumer behavior. We saw that essentials, groceries were being purchased at a clip of 15x versus a normal day pre-COVID. We saw an increase in the use of our wallet, Lazada wallet, and a lot more people doing live stream. So we have a live stream facility on our app, and people can watch sellers there or influencers talk about products. And we saw 3 times more viewers during COVID time. So how did we respond to COVID? We pivoted our platform to help the community bounce back. We did 3 major things. We used technology to elevate the online experience. I'll talk a bit more about that. Second, we adapted to evolving consumer needs. And then we empowered businesses to onboard and grow. On the first point, so we revamped our live stream experience. We created Lazada IP or intellectual property, our own shows. Example, Guess It. It's a game where you guess the price. Sing It, where there's a singing competition, and we saw around close to 100,000 viewers were watching these shows. And then we enabled digital donations on our platform. We actually enabled digital donations prior to the COVID situation, but we significantly ramped it up. And we onboarded 25 NGOs, including Red Cross, Caritas, Kaya Natin, and we're able to raise about 25 million. I talked about how we changed our platform to prioritize essentials. So during the height of the lockdown, the only products you would see on the homepage were essentials. Okay, so basically disinfectants, medical equipment, groceries, diapers, things like this. Okay, and then I mentioned we continued operating LazMart. Okay, during the whole period. So LazMart, a little bit different. The products in LazMart are fulfilled out of our warehouse, whereas most of the products in our platform are actually sold from sellers' warehouses. We also responded to consumer needs by enabling fresh and frozen. We noticed there were a lot of sellers selling on social media. And the challenge with this is that these sellers don't have a reliable way to take a payment or to deliver. And we said, you know what, let's offer this service we didn't offer before because we couldn't put it in a box. It was Lazada Fresh. We enabled meat, fruits, seafood, even ice cream. And what we did was, since we couldn't put this in parcels, we allowed sellers to deliver it themselves, but basically take advantage of the platform to take the order, to get the traffic, and even to collect the payment. Aside from responding to consumer needs, we also empowered businesses. We significantly ramped up the number of sellers we were onboarding per day. Today, we onboard 3 times the number of sellers per day versus February. So now we're onboarding sellers close to the thousands instead of hundreds per day. Okay, why are they able to onboard per day at that high a clip? Because it's very easy to onboard. All you do is you can go to the platform at the middle of the night, sign up without talking to a human being, connect your bank account, enter your details, enter your warehouse address. You can do this all within 10-15 minutes. You don't have to talk to a single human being. Any documents we need from you, you just scan them and send and upload them. We also onboarded 500 brands during COVID. Okay, we onboard our brands to our mall. A lot of these brands, so these are brands that were previously, before March, not on Lazada. But of course, because of the challenges of running an offline store, it made a lot of sense for brands and retailers to go online. And actually, one of the big changes in the new normal is every brand, every retailer is going to seriously have to rethink their digital strategy. You can't do retail today without having a serious digital strategy. And everyone is thinking about how to do it. And we feel that Lazada will be critical to that decision-making process. We even feel that it's probably going to be one of the first starting points for a lot of these brands and retailers. In addition to onboarding sellers and brands, we help the sellers by running 3 bounce back campaigns, 5.5, 6.6, and then July 15. Okay, so a chance for the sellers to reach the customers during these difficult times. We also empowered businesses, both new and existing, by earmarking 100 million pesos in funds and programs. So these are assistance we provided the sellers. It could be in the form of reimbursement for packaging where we cancel the order due to ECQ. Could be vouchers for services they could use on our platform, such as services to design their store, to advertise, to promote their products, things like this. We also enabled loans on Lazada. Today, we have enabled about 25 million pesos in loans. We are not the lender. We're connecting the sellers with lenders. I just want to share 2 examples of sellers that have really succeeded well on Lazada during this time. The one on the left is a fresh seller, meaning they're selling products they're delivering themselves. They're selling meat and frozen products. They onboarded in May, and now in July, their sales daily is 2.3x it was in May. Then we have a seller on the right side selling handcrafted footwear, local handcrafted. They onboarded 2018, and in July versus Feb, their daily sales is 4x. So you can see what's happening with MSMEs online and e-commerce. Actually, this is my last slide. And what I want to say is that despite everything we've done, we feel Lazada and e-commerce will continue to evolve in a new normal. And our approach has been to adapt by responding rapidly to changes in consumer needs, to thrive by focusing on the business continuity and growth for the ecosystem, and to lead by supporting and engaging the community. I'm going to wrap up there and open it up for questions, also providing my email address for those who may want to reach out. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Limorong. Ben, you want to kick off the questions?
Yeah, I have a really good question, I think, and something that's going to be on a lot of people's minds, both customers and sellers. I'm sure you know, the Congress is in the process of passing the digital tax bill, which is going to place some additional VAT on exactly the kind of things that people are doing through your platform. Is there any concerns about that? How are you preparing for it? Or is it something that you can just work into the flow of things already? That's my first question. And my second question is that with all the new things, I've been watching you guys this whole couple of months, and there's been a constant stream of new things rolling out. What ideas do you have for the next few months and coming into Christmas season? Are there any brand new innovations we can look forward to? So there you go.
Yeah, so for the first question, first of all, it's interesting to have a tax named after Lazada. But actually, it's not really a Lazada tax. It's more of a digital services tax. Mm-hmm. Lazada has been very cooperative with the government. We are a key resource entity for the hearings and deliberations. And I think what I'm going to say is that actually Lazada has been and continues to be tax compliant. And we are reviewing any additional any provisions in the regulation that will allow that we need to adjust to and continue to be compliant with. But I believe, as the Congressman Salceda said, that the digital taxation bill is nothing new. It's just plugging up certain holes. for which those hosts Lazada has been compliant with. So there are probably other players there who may not have been, but Lazada has been very tax compliant. Now, on what else is out there. So obviously, it's what we want to do at Lazada is continue to empower our sellers and brands. And the best way we can do that today is by getting them on board in our platform. We're onboarding hundreds of brands every month, and thousands of sellers a month as well. And basically enabling them to have a way to access markets while the customers are home, unable to go to their physical store. This is the biggest value that we feel Lazada can bring at this time. We are obviously going to continue to ramp up our consumer experience. We want to continue to give customers a more interesting, exciting experience when they go online. That's why we expect all our other consumer engagement activities to continue to ramp up, such as our live stream, the games that we offer. We have a coins and rewards program that's happening. All of these are live today. Expect these to continue to ramp up. And then we will also continue to invest in payments and logistics because these two aspects are also critical. Digital payments being very critical during this time. And of course, with the rising demand, I told you we have 2.5x volume from February. We need to continue to basically scale the capacity of our logistics network while meeting the service levels.
Okay, thank you. Frank?
Thank you, Mr. Marong. Sorry, I had that mic on mute. But I was wondering if we can dig deeper a little bit on some of those figures that you had mentioned. I wanted to ask of that growth that you mentioned, both from transactions and from onboarding. How much of that is from Metro Manila, and are you growing as well in other areas of the Philippines? And where is that growth coming from? What parts of the country?
Yeah, so thank you for the question. Most of the growth is actually coming from Metro Manila, and that's largely driven by where the seller base is located. We're really in a situation where most of the supply comes from Manila. That's the origin. So most of the origin, more than 90%, would be originating from Metro Manila. And then the destination, I would say about half of that would be in Metro Manila, and then half of it would be elsewhere. But still concentrate. But you'll see more of a Metro Manila weightage in the origin rather than the destination, because that's where the sellers are.
Right. I just wanted to build on what Yusek RJ Jacinto said earlier about improving the infrastructure and connectivity across the country. I was wondering what your outlook is for growth outside of Metro Manila, because I'm sure that's something that you guys are probably eager to ride onto as well, because there's the crisis everywhere, right? But not just in Metro Manila.
Yeah. So I think the way I want to answer that question is talk about kind of what it would take to build outside Metro Manila. The biggest issue, the biggest challenge we have is the logistics network. Today, once you deliver outside Metro Manila, the cost if you have a Metro Manila origin, you see what we're going to try to do first is try to build the receiving, the customer base outside Metro Manila before you start to build the seller base. As you try to do that, your delivery cost starts to skyrocket as you start to deliver outside Metro Manila. And furthermore, when you go to Visayas and Mindanao. And that would be your biggest, the biggest hurdle. Because you're dealing with a lot of products that are being sold below $5, $10 range, right? And the average delivery cost in Metro Manila is probably $1. And so, or 50 pesos, that's the range. And so you're dealing with that being potentially 10 to 20% of the selling price. Okay. And as you go outside, it could start to be 30% of the selling price, making the product not very, not very appetizing if you're going to start to be paying that kind of cost for shipping. So the way to lower that shipping cost is to build a logistics network outside where you can source from sellers that are there, right? And that's pretty costly because you can do one of two things. You can either build a way to pick up from those sellers and bring it to a hub, or you can build drop-off locations where the seller drops it off. But either way, you have to first invest, right? And where we are today is that we find that I think we still have a lot of room to build within around Metro Manila area, as well as improve on the service. And so trying to stretch out further where the supply is not really concentrated at this point, and starting to get supply from there will just increase the cost of sending that to the customer base. In Metro Manila, it's not that major a focus at this stage. Yeah.
Right. I was wondering, how you feel about the future, because, going to the mall is, what some would say part of the Filipino culture. But with the pandemic around and the questions about when the vaccine would be available, of course, it raises concerns about going out into the public. Do you think that eventually when we get a vaccine, some say hopefully next year, but I'm not optimistic. But do you think that as more people are doing business with Lazada and others like you, do you think some of that will stick into our routines, and or will it go back? Do you think to that malling culture that we saw before the pandemic, or maybe a combination of both? What's your outlook? What does your crystal ball tell you?
Yeah, so I think there are two parts to that question. The first one is e-commerce here to stay? I would say absolutely. I don't see it going the other way. There's been a lot of time for people while home to experiment, to test. And I think that they've been pretty satisfied with the results, right? So it's not something they're going to start to turn their back on. So we're going to see this, whatever numbers the Google Temasek study showed for the growth of e-commerce, we expect that to accelerate, to be faster than any of the predictions out there prior to COVID. The second part is the Filipino going to go back to the malling culture? I would think so. We're very social people. We'll always bounce back. We've been through, I think the Philippines has been through even worse crises in the past. But I think that what will happen is very similar to what I mentioned earlier. Retailers and brands will have to rethink their digital strategy. I think that digital strategy will be a part of retail now. Historically, there are a lot of establishments in the Philippines today where, in fact, even up to today, where they only take cash. At a time when you want to be contactless, there are still establishments out there, and a lot of them that take only cash. But over time, they're going to start accepting electronic payments. And once they do that, they're not going to go back from that. You see country clubs, condominiums now offering electronic billing, whereas in the past, they would only insist on sending you a paper bill. I don't see any of that going the other way, right? In fact, even if somebody makes it out holding on to paper, it's going to be a matter of time that they come up with an electronic way of dealing with transactions. That being said, Filipinos will go back to the social culture, but it's very important for retailers to think about what I call a rich experience. So I'm going to quote a e-commerce entrepreneur in the US. I forgot the name, but he said something like, offline retail is not a challenge or at risk. It is bland retail experience at are. And you're going to have to, if you're going to ask people to go to your store, you have to give a richer experience. And that's why you're starting to see the larger format retail stores dominate the first floor in malls, right? Where when you go there, there's more of an experience. As if it's just going to be clothes hanging on a rack, then after COVID, the Filipino might say, you know what, I'll just do e-commerce.
Right. Well, I know that you have another engagement at 3:30, but I was wondering if I could just ask one more question, and that is whether or not Lazada has like an ASEAN strategy. It seems that you have country operations, right? But I noticed also that some of your merchants offer products that are coming from abroad, and And by the way, my latest order just arrived today, so I'm happy with that. But I was wondering if you're looking at ASEAN as a market rather than just per country markets. What are you looking at?
So absolutely, Lazada, by our vision, is very ASEAN. Our mission today is to accelerate progress in Southeast Asia through commerce and technology. So it's not an open question right now if we're going to other places in Asia. It is Southeast Asia. And definitely there are huge aspects in our business strategy that leverage from an ASEAN approach. Technology is one. We're running a single platform across 6 markets. When we do product rollouts, we may pilot in one country, but the intent is to potentially roll that out in all 6, maybe do some localizations. And then we also have a cross-border business, and the point of that is to leverage the relationship with our parent company Alibaba, but also to expand assortment and options for Filipinos to be able to give more products at the fingertips of Filipinos, and that is very ASEAN as well. If we onboard a cross-border seller in one country, it's not that much effort to ensure that they're also available in the other 5 countries.
Okay, thank you very much. I don't want to hold you up for your next meeting. Any last messages you want to share with us in your last 2 minutes?
Yeah, I think the message we have is that Lazada is here to continue to empower entrepreneurs to build their business and to grow in Lazada. And today there are 100,000 MSMEs that earn a living on Lazada, and more than 1,000 of these are earning ₱1 million a month. So we're here to empower the Filipino entrepreneur.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ray Alimorong, and good luck with that. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Ben.
Thank you.
I understand that will be our final speaker for the day, because the representative from PLDT Smart, I think, is called off to another task at this moment. I wish that that guest would be here so that we could ask some of those questions and other issues that USEC RJ Jacinto had put forward earlier. But it would
be nice to hear from the other side of that whole discussion. That is true, but we'll make do with what we've been presented, which has been quite a lot, I think.
What's stuck with you with our 3 speakers today?
Well, I think a couple of things. What I hope is, people watching this, and I'm gonna assume that most of our audience today are people who are either like us, online consumers, in much greater ways than we have been in a few months ago. We buy our goods online, we buy our food online. I've advanced quite a bit myself, in that regard. So I think, a lot of us are consumers, and there are also quite a few people, I'm noticing from the comments too, a lot of people who are interested in being entrepreneurs online. And that makes sense. People are finding ways to survive and thrive in some cases, having lost, or temporarily lost their old jobs, or, situations changed. And, I think what I hope people appreciate is that, what we see on the surface is either a consumer or just somebody who gets onto Facebook and sells our goods, or gets onto Lazada and sells our goods, there is a complex ecosystem behind all of that makes that work. And, given the connectivity situation in this country, and to some extent, I think it's a miracle that it works at all. I think I was encouraged by what Undersecretary Jacinto said. They are working on it, but we've got a long way to go in that regard. So, a tip of the hat to companies like Lazada, that make it work with the condition it's in.
Right.
It's my feeling.
Yeah, well, I was going to say that, it's amazing how we're able to do this, because people don't know you're in my office.
Yeah.
Because the connection at your home is not suitable for a
right.
webinar.
That's exactly. I would not be here, and I would not be wearing long pants if I could do this in my house. But unfortunately, your Wi-Fi works better than mine, and that's just a matter of location.
Well, I'm glad to share my office with you. My office is your office, and I think that's a good. I won't stand up to show you what I'm wearing, but I think that you said a good summary. You mentioned a good summary of today's program. So we'll leave it there, and I wish to thank you, Ben, and our speakers, and all of those watching this forum today. Thank you very much on behalf of the Manila Times, and see you at the next forum.
Thank you.
Mahigit sa 20,000 na ang confirmed.
Ng PPE
Isa sa ilalim na ang Metro Manila sa
Wala na. Wala munang mga food court at fiesta. Meron namang lutong bahay. Wala munang window shopping. Meron namang free shipping. Wala munang happy hour. Pero may isang oras pa. Tulog pa tayo. Wala muna yung aircon at only coffee sa office. Pero andyan yung dream office mate natin. Biruin mo. Wala munang quiz night, band night, samgyup night, pati videoke night. Pero meron ng time sa family night. Wala na munang pasyalan, wala na munang bakasyunan. Okay lang siguro mawala lahat ng yon. Huwag lang ito. Kasi may mga bagay na walang kapalit. May mas mahalaga ba dito? Wala. Rediscover what matters. Rediscover home.